Pennsylvania Governor Tom Corbett signed the controversial voter ID bill back in March of 2012, but it still hasn't gone into effect amid allegations that it may be unconstitutional to require citizens to show photo ID in order to vote. The trial is expected to begin in July. Zach Stolberg is the president of the Committee of 70, a nonpartisan government watchdog that fights for better government and for fair, well-run elections. We sat down with Mr. Stolberg to find out more about the consequences of the Pennsylvania voter ID law.
If you asked me to bet, I would say that in the long run, voter ID will be the law of the land. But it's a question of sort of how it is implemented, because it's now becoming so common to have to show ID. I think it's personally, I think it's inevitable that it'll be required for elections.
Between 2000 and 2010, out of millions of votes cast in general elections, only 633 cases of voter fraud took place, and only 5 instances occurred in Pennsylvania. It's been suggested that this law is a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. So are lawmakers making too big of a deal out of it?
Well, the counter-argument is that it occurs but is not prosecuted, is not people aren't caught, and they're not caught because there is no voter ID. So it's a bit of a chicken and an egg thing.
Stolberg also says that while it is relatively easy to obtain a photo ID, the inconvenience of having to do so could be enough to discourage citizens from voting.
I tell you, it ain't that hard to get voter ID if you can get there, and if you can give up a few hours of your day to do it. But for some people, getting there that's a real chore.
We spoke with some voters to find out their opinions about the voter ID law.
I think it is a giant axe designed to hit a gnat.
I believe that the voter ID law should go into effect because it is going to guarantee that citizens are voting.
2 really important constituencies, the seniors and particularly the older super seniors, as they call them, and students, I think, will be unfairly impacted.
My feeling is that if the government does pronounce that yes, we are going to have government IDs, then the government has to make every effort to be sure to take these people to areas or to bring perhaps a committee or an ID mobile or whatever into these communities so that people could easily get their voter IDs.
Now, because these laws are not currently in effect, voters will be asked but not required to show a valid form of identification when they arrive at their designated polling place. However, if you're a first-time voter or voting for the first time in a new polling place, you must show a valid form of photo or non-photo ID. For information about obtaining a photo ID or for an application to do so, visit votespa.com and click on the Voter ID tab. Reporting live from Upper Dublin High School, I'm Stephen Pileggi, Temple TV News.